The 3 seed Iowa State Cyclones take on the 14 seed Lipscomb Bisons. This game tips off 1:30 on Friday in Milwaukee. I'm here with Guy. We will be talking about what the ASUN champs will be facing with the Cyclones. What are you looking for out of this matchup?
Well, Lipscomb is finally in the tournament. I have picked them to win the ASUN for, I think we're on 3 years in a row now. Whatever the first year Liberty was gone in was the year that I picked them.
Mhm.
This is an old Lipscomb team. Will Pruitt has been there for as long as I've been alive, it feels like. They've got a really good team. I mean, I love the ASUN tournament every year. It's the first one to tip off. It's at campus sites, which always make for an electric atmosphere. And my favorite stat about Lipscomb is they have a grammatically incorrect team nickname. Bison is the plural. You don't need bisons.
I know. I love that it has the added S on it just for funsies. But yeah, that's kind of the stat of note. I want to give a shout out to Heat Check CVB's Lucas Harkins, who did a profile on Lipscomb in our Ticket Punch series. I do some work over on that side as well, and he noticed that their big four, so to speak, Jacob Ognacevic, Will Pruitt, Joe Anderson, and Giassi Powell. Those four have started all 34 games together this year. It's a very connected group that
They're
leans on
old
their,
too.
yeah, they're old, they're connected, and they light it up from three. They make threes in the bunches, which I think could potentially help against an Iowa State defense that wants to throw bodies at you, that wants to deter you from getting into the lane, that has a lot of depth. You want to spread them out as opposed to just like driving into. They just have like an assembly line of big physical dudes they can throw at you in the front court. I think if you can knock down some threes against them, obviously that's going to make the job a lot easier.
Yeah, I think it's also worth noting with Lipscomb that there was like a 30% chance that they were going to be the third best team from Nashville, Tennessee, if Middle Tennessee State had done what I wanted them to do and expected them to do and win the Conference USA. Uh, so uh, they're the second best. Vanderbilt's the best, obviously.
So they're coming
Uh,
in with a chip on their shoulder, wanting to prove they belong. Is that what you're getting at?
no, I just wanted to mention that there are a lot of good teams from Nashville, Tennessee this year, and I think that's kind of cool.
Okay.
Uh,
Shout out to Nashville. Shout out to the Music City.
Shout out Nashville. They will have their hands full.
Hmm.
TJ Otzelberger has coach speak confirmed that Taman Lipsey is going to be back for Iowa State. I'm not 100% just because it's like, he's anticipating, I'm anticipating he'll be back for Friday. He's getting better and better every day. He's progressing well. Just as coach speak as you can get.
Hmm.
Pat Kelsey would hate it uh, because he's not a coach speak guy. Uh, I I don't know if that's like a well-known thing. I've just noticed that Pat Kelsey doesn't like coach speak. I'm losing the thread. This Iowa State team is really good. They were my national championship pick if Keyshawn Gilbert was healthy. Keyshawn Gilbert is not healthy, so that's I guess a good thing for Lipscomb. But you never want to like prey on a guy getting hurt. But he's not there. He's not playing, which sucks because he's awesome. But at the end of the day, this is still a team with Curtis Jones and Milan Momcilovic and Joshua Jefferson, obviously Taman Lipsey. Like this is a very, very good Iowa State team, and I think a lot of people have written them off because of how injury prone they were this year.
Hmm.
Momcilovic missed time, Lipsey obviously missed time, Curtis Jones missed some time, obviously Keyshawn Gilbert has missed some time, but this is a team that we're talking about when they played Utah, for example, on the 7th of January, they were the number three team in the country. They were 13-1 at the time, and they beat a sneaky good, I want to say, Utah team. I mean, like obviously not great, but a Utah team that could have crept on the bubble right at the end of the year and then just kind of fell apart by like 30 points. Like this was a team that, when firing on all cylinders,
Hmm.
was clearly one of the best in the country. My easy national championship pick, and if Keyshawn Gilbert was there, would have stayed my national championship pick. Like the Lipscomb will have their hands full.
I don't know if I'm as high on the clones as you were just with how they ended the season. I get injuries. Like I still think there is a ceiling to how good this team can be. And way, way more of one without Kashawn Gilbert. But like you're kind of getting at it though. They still have plenty of weapons that can burn you. I think And you just look at what Curtis Jones did against BYU, stepping into the starting spot like in the Big 12 tournament. And I know they didn't win, but he knocked down 7 threes and just went berserk in the first half. And it is really good to see Momcilovic come along as well. He was someone going into the year that I kind of expected to be, if not the leading scorer for this Cyclones team, the second leading scorer. And it's nice to see that he's making good on his pedigree, living up to some of his recruiting ranking. And that even goes without mentioning Joshua Jefferson yet. And he's someone who I think should have a very favorable matchup in this game. I will say for Lipscomb, I know since Charlie Williams, the William and Mary transfer, entered the lineup, their defense has been better, but I still think Jefferson gives you such an advantage with his passing and his creation out of the post. And even looking at that game, that Lipscomb, their ASUN championship game against North Alabama, they were doubling the post a lot in that one. I'm very curious to see if Lenny Acuff has them doing that in this contest, just because if you double Joshua Jefferson, he's going to find the open man. And there are way too many shooters on this Clones roster to like have faith in that being an effective strategy.
Yeah, also one of the more overlooked guys on Iowa State has been Deshaun Jackson. He's
Hmm.
been a spark plug big man this year.
Hmm.
Uh, I think this offseason there was a lot of sort of, I don't say there was a lot of talk about how Iowa State didn't have a big man, but as much of, like, oh, who's their big man going to be? And pulling in Deshaun Jackson is, I thought was a solid move at the time. He's a guy who was on that Charlotte team that won the CBI, or
Hmm.
yeah, no, it was North Texas won the NIT, Charlotte won the CBI. It
Hmm.
was the year that the Conference USA was 2 FAU wins away from winning all three major college basketball postseason events. Um, but I like this is a an Iowa State team that has been slept on. I don't think deserves to be slept on, and I am not picking them as far as I wanted to initially in my brackets.
Yeah.
Uh, just look, well, I think Iowa State is gonna win by 10 points.
Okay. That's what I was
However.
going to get into because like I was just looking at Kim Palm. He has a score projection at Iowa State favored by 12, which to me feels a little bit low. And I get Lipscomb has the experience. They really can light you up from three. The pick and pop game is great. Like I think they're like top 40 in the country in 3-point attempt rate. And I think that could be like an maybe not an issue for Iowa State, but it is like the great equalizer. But so you're saying that you think Iowa State ends up with a 10-point win?
Well, 10 plus. I don't think that Lipscomb makes it particularly close. And
Hmm.
that's nothing against Lipscomb. I think it's more just people don't realize how good Iowa State is. I think I've seen more people picking Ole Miss in the to the Sweet 16 out of this pod than they've been picking Iowa State, which I mean, to me, I think Ole Miss could lose to North Carolina. We obviously just previewed that one, and we'll be on this round of this pod's round of 32. So make sure you subscribe and all that good stuff. But the Iowa State disrespect that has been going around just because they finish a season cold is, I don't want to say insane to me because obviously people are going to disrespect a team that finishes cold, but I think it's getting a little bit out of proportion for missing one player right as everyone's getting healthy. To me, this is a good time for Iowa State outside of missing Keyshawn Gilbert. I th I think that this team has a good chance to beat Michigan State and go to the Elite Eight. And I mean, I'm not so naive as to say that then pick them to my Final Four, but I just think that there are big things coming for this Iowa State team, and I think it's naive to pick a Lipscomb team that, yes, is old, but is just so out-talented by Iowa State. But credit to all the guys at Lipscomb. They stayed super loyal. Will Pruitt's now in year 5 there. But at the end of the day, it's Lipscomb versus Iowa State and a really good Iowa State team.
I think that's well said. I wouldn't be surprised if Lipscomb can at least hang for a half, but once you start to get to under 15, under 12 in the second, I wouldn't be surprised to see the Cyclones make this a statement game where it's like, maybe this was a little bit of a trendy upset pick, but we're closing the door and getting like a 15 to 25 point victory somewhere in that range. Whatever happens, though, we will be breaking this down along with the rest of the pod. Make sure you're staying tuned to the Sleepers Media YouTube channel.